Hello and welcome to another evening of frank conversation here on Hard Copy, coming to you from our studios in Abuja. I'm Maupe Ogun Yusuf. On Thursday, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission revealed that they've recovered the sum of 248 billion naira, 53,000 pounds, and 172,000 euros within the last year of the operations. There have been questions as to how these recovered funds are returned to the system and if there's a transparent way they're utilized. While these questions remain valid and deserve an answer from the Commission, the EFCC is not the only agency of government empowered to fight corruption. There are a few more bodies whose work, if efficiently done, could further enhance transparency in the system and reduce the burden of corruption. One of them is the Public Accounts Committee of the National Assembly, a statutory committee traditionally chaired by an opposition member of the National Assembly. On Hard Copy tonight, we speak with the Chairman, House Committee on Public Accounts, Honorable Bamidele Salam. Honorable Salam, welcome to Hard Copy.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
Well, quite a number of things have come up during the week, which I'd like to take you up on before we go on to the issue of whether or not we're making progress in our fight against corruption. Because some people, or will I say in our battle to entrench transparency, which is where you really come in. But let me quickly take your views on a number of issues that came up during the week. For instance, initially started with the Northern Governors Forum, coming together, having a meeting on Tuesday and saying that they rejected the president's tax reform bill. It was followed by a meeting where it was more a bigger meeting of governors on Thursday. And at the end of the meeting, they also advised the president to withdraw the bill pending when more consultations have been done, etc. I know that this bill is already before the House. I don't know how conversant you are with the bill and whether it is an advice you will ask the president to follow.
Well, let me say that in terms of being conversant with the bill, of course, it's past first reading in the House, awaiting the second reading, and we are all trying to study the principles of the bill to see how that fits into, one, the overall framework of the Nigerian Constitution, and of course, the yearnings and expectations of the Nigerian people. But having said that, I also want to say that with due respect to the Northern Governors Forum or any other body, I do not really think that withdrawing the bill is the best
National
approach.
Economic Council.
Yep. The National. I really don't think withdrawing the bill will be the best approach.
Why?
Okay. One, I think there's a unanimity of opinion as to the fact that Nigeria needs a very, very radical reform of the existing tax system. The tax system in Nigeria is one of the most unwieldy in the world. It is also denying the country of various opportunities that can come from widening the tax net. We will have too many duplications, multiplications actually of taxes. They are not streamlined. We also have very weak institutions of tax collection. We have very weak enforcement and adjudication processes, which are some of the things that the tax bill intends to solve. Now, granted that there will be issues in the tax bill which some governors or some people are not very comfortable with, I think the proper thing would have been to allow the bill to go through the process. Luckily, the National Assembly works in a way that allows for public input before bills become acts, and one of which is the issue of the public hearing. At the stage of the public hearing, governors, business community, organized private sector, the labor, and so many others will have opportunity of coming to enrich the content of the bill. And don't forget that when you talk about the National Assembly, we are all members from elected from various constituencies and various states. So governors can actually have engagement with their representatives in the Senate and the House of Representatives to look at those positions and then give a mandate to their members on the positions that they expect to be upheld in the consideration of the bill. So that by the time the bill is passing through the second reading, where we generally discuss the principles of the bill, people will bring in all these issues, and when it goes for a public hearing, then other members of the public and the organized private sector can come in to infuse their thoughts and their suggestions in a manner that will enrich the final outcome of the bill to reflect the expectations of the governors and every other major stakeholder in the country. That to my mind, would have been a more proper, course of action rather than withdrawing the bill and then probably we wait for another months or even year.
You are very confident that this bill will actually go through the processes which you have outlined.
Certainly,
because we have seen how in times past some bills that have come, especially if it's something that has the imprimatur of the executive, particularly the president, it just sails through. I mean, I'll give you a very quick instance. The national anthem of the country was changed in a jiffy without going through that sort of process for something that everybody is going to be singing.
Well, you can't compare the national anthem bill with a bill as crucial as the tax bill. Don't forget.
Why? One is money, the other is what?
Yeah, money.
One is a creed.
Money. No, economic issues, attract more attention. They generate more interest. If you talk about the national anthem, yes, for the purpose of the maybe the optics or whatever, they are good, they are bad or whatever, people do debate. But what I'm saying is that there is hardly a bill that has to do with tinkering with the economic structure of the country that will not pass through very rigorous scrutiny in the National Assembly.
Yeah, but we also know that the president...
Like the appropriation bill that comes.
Yeah, but we also know that a bill that comes from the executive, because mind you, the governors are aware that this is a bill that has the president's support. It's an executive bill. And they know that oftentimes, what they have advised is that Mr. President withdraw this bill. They have not spoken to the committee that's actually sat down on the reforms. It is the president they've spoken to. And that's because they know the power the office of the president carries when it comes to bills in the National Assembly.
That is one of the problems we have with our institutional confidence. There is a whole lot of lack of confidence in our institutions. And this is not really good for our democracy. Now, there is a delineated system of responsibility, separation of power, entrenched in the Constitution. The fact that the bill comes from the president does not make it automatically, granted that the National Assembly will pass that kind of a bill. The president is the head of the executive. The parliament represents the people. We are those that bring the feelings, the views of the people into the legislative process.
How separate our power has been in recent times?
Oh yeah, they haven't.
Honorable, I'm sure you have been very aware of the criticism that has been, about the National Assembly, especially in the last National Assembly and this National Assembly, that they are hand in glove with the executive.
I understand where those who bring that kind of viewpoint come from. People at times expect that there should be a lot of brawling, a lot of disagreement and whatever. Now, yes, there are separation of powers, but the lines are also thin, especially when there is a deep consultation with each of the answers, especially between the executive and the legislature on critical matters. Now, talking about this tax bill, for example, I know that this presidential committee that have been working for a while had also done quite a lot of engagement. I'm actually surprised at the kind of controversies also coming after the bill had been sent, because I know that committee had an engagement with the organized private sector, had an engagement with the labor, had engagement with so many, structures of the society. And the National Assembly, like I've said, is the most diverse of the structures that we have as a country. And so it comes with the views, feelings, passions, expectations of people across all divides, cultural, ethnic, religious, economic, whatever you have, represented in the National Assembly. I think we only just need to maybe improve our trust of institutions. If we continue, in this manner, it will be difficult for institutions, and that affects
institutions shown
so
that
many
they can
other
be
issues.
Trusted over the years.
Well, it's a process. It's a process. I agree with you, absolutely, and I agree with those who have those fears and concerns. It's not only the National Assembly. So many other institutions have that problem when it comes to public perception, when it comes to understanding of how the system works, by the public. But like I've said, it's a process. And I don't think the solution is to throw away the baby with the bathwater. I really think, that will have more, counter-productive results than benefits for the country at large.
Do you think your governors could be smart though? I mean, because this is coming on the back of local government autonomy granted by the Supreme Court, and we've been saying, you know, what's been happening with. What's your view on that anyway? The local government autonomy as granted by the Supreme Court. Now there's clamoring even in the Senate that INEC should be the one to conduct elections because of how local government elections are now being controversial.
All right, Mark, but it's the same problem that we do have, institutional trust. Now, let me lay this foundation. We are a federal state. We are a federal government. A federation essentially consists of the central government and federating unit. And the Nigerian Constitution is not unambiguous about this. It has stated that the federating unit, the federal government, and the state, these are the only two federating units. And this is also in consonance with what happens in other federations, in Canada, in the United States, in India, in Australia. This is the same, structure that you have, where there's a federating unit, there are federating units and the federal government. Now, the power to create local government, establish the local governments, provide for their structures and whatever, as provided for in Section 7 of the Nigerian Constitution, is domiciled with the state houses of assembly. And like I said, there is absolutely nothing wrong with this. The Constitution goes forward to also create state independent electoral commissions to conduct elections into state. Again, this is in consonance with best global practices.
While we understand and we agree with the laws, the thing now is how we have practiced it here.
Excellent.
How it has been implemented here.
Excellent.
Are you satisfied with how we have practiced our local government system here and how our state electoral bodies have been conducting elections?
I am not satisfied. I am not satisfied, but I also think that the Yorubas have a proverb that somebody has a headache, and then you say, oh, let's bring him and behead him. Now, that's not the solution to headache. The solution to the fact that these institutions have not acted responsibly, have not acted lawfully, have not acted in consonance with democratic tenets is not to scrap them and bring those responsibilities to the federal level, where the Independent National Electoral Commission will now be saddled with conducting elections into 774 local government chairmanship and what number you have of councillors. That is not the solution. The solution, now remember, Maube, there's an ongoing debate on devolution of powers, including devolving powers on security to states. But now we are talking about taking away power that have even been dissolved by the Constitution to now centralize those powers, because we believe that there is no solution to the lack of democracy in the local government level. I agree with you absolutely. The way local government elections have been handled all across the country, it does not depict that we are really ready for democracy. I mean, where you have state governors just appointing whoever they want and then, announcing results, oh, this party. And in all cases, it is the party of the governor that wins all chairmanship, that wins all councillorship. I agree those are problems. But the solution to the problem is not to scrap these institutions. Is to now ask ourselves, what further kind of amendments can we do to the Constitution, or whatever kind of rules can we all agree on as a people to strengthen these institutions and make them less volatile, less open for manipulation, because that's what we have at the moment today. A lot of manipulation happens, and that is talking about the administrative structure. What about the financial structures, the monies that are meant for local government? But even then, the Constitution is wisdom. I think it's Section 162. Create a state local government joint account to which the federal government is supposed to disburse monies meant for local government, and state government are expected to contribute 10% of their own internal generated revenue to those monies, and then share those monies to local government. But it is obvious that that is not happening in all the states of the federation.
So would you support the withdrawal of monies to local, or withholding the monies?
No, certainly that will be unconstitutional for the federal government or anyone to withhold monies meant for local government for whatever reason. Will also be unconstitutional, because the Constitution does not envisage creating a body that will serve like a policeman to state. The federal government and the state government is not a master boss, or is not a boss servant relationship. They are federating units, with each having its own clearly defined rules and responsibilities and powers in the Constitution. And the powers of the federal government does not also include withholding monies meant for local government, for whatever reason. Now, citizens of the state, the civil society, and whatever, can institute action against any governor that refuses to give monies meant for local government to them and get redress. That is how democracies work. It's not for us to just say, okay, well, because this thing is not working, let's now unitarize it. Now, I think that is a problem that we really need to avoid creating for ourselves.
Well, we'll take a break at this point. When we come back, we'll be delving more into the work of the House Committee on Public Accounts. Welcome back. You're watching Hard Copy, coming to you from our studios in Abuja. Honorable Bamidele Salam, who is the Chairman House Committee on Public Accounts, is our guest tonight. And we're taking a look at a potpourri of issues. Honorable, let me quickly take you back now to your own work in the House Committee on Public Accounts. I do know that you've taken on quite a number of big issues. One of them, you're probing the National Upstream Petroleum Regulation Commission, NUPRC. That one has proven a bit controversial. It's still ongoing. You were quoted to have said that you're investigating 32 billion naira in leakages. Let me quickly ask you whether you think we're making progress in this battle to entrench transparency in the way we run government funding and financing?
Well, sincerely speaking, if I have to answer that question on whether we are winning the battle, I will tell you that the answer is in the negative. We're not winning the battle yet. And we're not winning the battle yet for so many reasons. I wouldn't want to talk about the issue of the investigation, the ongoing investigation, so that I don't also appear to have given a verdict even before we conclude the process of the investigation. It is an investigation. It is not it's not correct that there are leakages in that particular agency yet until and the investigation continues on Monday of next week, where we hope that we'll be able to have a conclusion on the matter. Very open, the media will be there. But when it comes to the issue of corruption, the Public Account Committee, which is again a creation of the Constitution, Section 85, 6 of the Constitution, is that committee that is empowered to look at the report of the Auditor General for the Federation, consider queries that are raised against ministries, department, agencies, and corporations of government by the audit institution, and also look into possible cases of violation of financial rules and regulation. And we see quite a lot in the course of that work. And one of the things I think is the major impediment to our successful fight against corruption is the fact that our institutions appear very weak to tackle this. Let me give you just one example. As we speak, the Auditor General's report, the one that is the latest that is submitted to us, is the 2021 Auditor General's report. In fact, we did that as a result of hurrying up, if I may use that expression, the Auditor General's office. We only had 2019 report by the time we assumed office in October of last year. Now, most times when these issues come up, the principal players in the actual financial infractions have either left office, transferred from that place. In some cases, they are even dead. When you are dealing with a 2019 report in 2024, 4 years ago. Now, can you juxtapose that or extrapolate that with the judiciary? You have a case in court about somebody who has mismanaged certain funds running into 10, 12, 15 years on trial. In most cases, fatigue even sets in for the anti-corruption agency. I was with the chairman of the AFCC a few days ago. By the way, he's doing a fantastic job. I think he's doing a very fantastic job. But
that's interesting coming from you.
Oh yeah, that is the truth.
In the opposition.
Because we have to be very fair. It doesn't really matter. We all have one country. And whatever we do should be in defense of the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mabe, at the root of the crisis, at the root of the hardship, at the root of whatever we have in Nigeria today, corruption is number one. Because, like I do say, if only 60-70% of resources available to be spent on procurement, on fixing infrastructure, on services, are truthfully and legally deployed, I'm telling you, Nigeria will be an El Dorado in the very. But what do we have? Out of every 10 naira, and I'm saying this on air, out of every 10 naira that is meant for services and works in Nigeria, almost 6-7 naira are either misapplied misappropriated or outrightly stolen by those who are charged with those responsibilities. And I'm not talking about any particular administration. It's something that has been on for decades, for so many, for so long a time. You remember what happened in the Second Republic after the military came and began to unearth the magnitude of corruption that happened in the Second Republic. The First Republic, those who took over government then cited corruption as one of the major reasons.
So do you think then,
where we are,
do you think that your committee then can make any difference?
Sure, we can make any difference, but how far will the difference go? We also have our limitations, to be very honest with you. And one of that limitation is the fact that at the end of the trial, at the end of the process of the Public Account Committee, for example, we generate our report, it goes to the plenary, and the plenary passes those reports. Where do the reports go? It's an irony. The report goes back to the executive for implementation.
It's interesting that those reports are never made public.
No, they are made public. I mean, the consideration of the COVID-19 report, for example, was covered by the press corps of the House of Reps.
People in the CSO who are very interested in the work that the Public Accounts does, especially in relation to the Office of the Auditor General, have complained that those reports are rarely ever made public. They actually have to dig for them.
What I think they are saying, and that is applicable with due respect to assemblies in the past, is the fact that the reports are hardly laid for consideration in the House. If they are laid, they are hardly concerned. But we submitted a report on our investigation into COVID-19, for example, and within 2-3 months, the House considered and passed the report. I had expected the media to actually do so much reportage about the content of that report into the investigation, into the expenditure of the trillions of naira, which were meant to reflate the economy, fix infrastructure, and battle the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic. But I can assure you that with this 10th Assembly Public Account Committee, it's a different story entirely. We have reports on 2020 Auditor General's report that are ready, as I speak with you, to be laid before the House. They will be laid very openly before the House, considered, and those reports will be made available to, but like I said, the outcome of those reports, what happens to them? They are sent to the executive for implementation. And that is where we are thinking that perhaps if we take a cue from some of our colleagues in the East African countries, they have what they call a public account tribunal. Perhaps if we come under that, and there's a bill for that already, which has passed the first reading in the House, going to the second reading, where we'll have a public account tribunal, which will then take the report of the Public Account Committee after plenary consideration and subject them to the judicial process to properly try persons indicted for violation of Procurement Act, financial regulations, and other laws, enabling in the financial space. It is only when we do that we can have results. And it is unfortunate that Nigeria is one of the very few countries in the Commonwealth nations where you have the public account system where we don't have an audit bill. We are still working with a 1956 ordinance, on audit. So I do hope that the Senate will also concur to the audit bill, and then it will be transmitted to the President for his accent. If we are able to have an audit bill, it will be so many miles ahead, especially, like I've said, in ensuring that we put our eyes more on the processes leading to expenditure in a manner that will make prevention more integrated into our system rather than detection and prosecution. They have stolen this money, they have eaten the money. Whatever EFCC has recovered, it's just like 1/20th of what has actually gone. But that is how much they can actually do.
As we wrap up now, let me quickly bring up this issue. It came up in the House, just as we wrap up. One of your colleagues, one of your fellow members was recently filmed while assaulting the driver of a ride-hailing app. Now, we understand that matter has been referred to one of the committee in the House. Are you satisfied with the process?
That is the rule of the House. Every act that the House considers inappropriate is referred to the Committee on Ethics and Privileges. And the matter is also before the court. I'm aware the police has charged the matter before the court so that we don't act sub judice. I would not want to say so much about it. But it's been referred to the Committee on Ethics, which is the right thing for the House to do, for them to also investigate and know what actually happened.
How do you think that's going to go then concurrently if he's already been charged do you think that the House still needs to conduct a hearing?
Separation of powers. There are several court cases that says that the judiciary cannot even stop the House from performing its constitutional duties, statutory duties. The House will do its own investigation, come up with its report, and apply the right measures into addressing whatever is brought up. The judicial process involves whether fine, imprisonment, or discharge, or acquittal, or whatever it is, and that is left in the hands of the judiciary on the weight of evidence that's provided by the prosecution and the defense in this case.
Mm-hmm. Well, your initial thoughts were what when you saw the video?
Now you want me to talk about it? I really feel that, and the honorable member involved himself has come out to say that he regrets that action, that it was an inappropriate action, and that he regretted, going there. I actually feel that as public office holders, in spite of whatever pressure or whatever you feel was not done rightly, there's always a responsible way. There's always a humane way of relating to issues. But like I've said, even the person involved himself admitted that he could have acted better in the circumstance. And I think that suffices for me. He offered an apology to me. Mm-hmm. That suffices.
Honorable Bamidele Salam, thank you so much for coming on Hard Copy.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
Well, that's the program tonight, but it's not over until we hear from you. So please use the handles showing on your screen to speak to us. Thank you for watching. I'm Maukwe Ogunyuso.